Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and I'm the musician for Music Dreams and also for Ian J. Green. And I also absolutely love teaching, working with students, performing concerts, writing original music. And I have a lot of music available for streaming on my channel through streaming services, Ian J. Green and Music Dreams. If you check out those two artist profiles or some of the music on this YouTube channel, you'll be able to find the links in the description of those performance videos. Now, today we are going to be looking at Unit 7, Part 2 of the Harmony course for Level 10 as published through the Royal Conservatory of Music. We're going to be looking at specific ways to use the dominant ninth and dominant 13th chords while writing four-part harmony in chorale style or for choral music. Now, something that's interesting that we discovered in the first part of this tutorial was that in the dominant ninth chord, also known as V9 or dominant 9, it's traditionally spelled root, third, seventh, ninth, with the ninth always in the soprano. That helps to create a special prominence of that special note. Now, in the dominant 13th chord, this is always spelled root, third, seventh, 13th. So that within both of those different types of chords, the root, the third, and the seventh are always present to show the quality of that type of dominant chord. But then the ninth or the 13th are used as special coloring chords, but never used together. The dominant ninth chord and the dominant 13th chord are two different chords. They use the same function, but they are spelled and used in a different way from each other. The most common way to use the dominant ninth and dominant 13th chord, especially when writing in four-part harmony, is to always write the chord, or 90% of the time or more, to use and write the chord in root position. This means then that the root, the third, and the seventh must be included, but then the special note, the ninth or the 13th, whichever chord you choose to use, should be in the soprano part. Then we can hear that sound of those beautiful harmonies. Basically, there are a couple of different things to think about. If we write the dominant ninth or dominant 13th chords in root position, that means the dominant note always has to be the lowest note to create that root position chord spelling. As well, the ninth or 13th should always try to be in the soprano, so you can hear that beautiful sound of the ninth or the 13th. So then that means that we can mess around with where to place the third and the seventh, which are the other two important notes of that chord. So these two charts here, which are specifically on page 118 of your textbook, halfway through the page, these little charts where it shows root, third, seventh, ninth, or root, third, seventh, 13th, are very helpful because you can see how the root and the ninth, or the root and the 13th, are the outer notes, but then depending on where you want to put the other notes, you can mess around with where to put the third and the seventh. They don't have to be spelled exactly this way, but all of the notes should be present. As well, something very important is to always recognize the key signature that you're in, to make sure that if you're in a minor key and you write using the dominant chord, that the raised seventh note should be included, also known as the leading tone. So let's say we are in the scale of A minor, and we go over to the piano, and I play that dominant chord. The A minor dominant chord is E, G sharp, and B. That's the triad. If I were to play the dominant seventh chord, it would be E, G sharp, B, and D. If we were to do the dominant ninth, we would use root, third, seventh, and ninth, which kind of creates a dissonant sound, doesn't it? But it really is powerful. Now, if we were to use the dominant 13th chord, it would be E, G sharp, D, C. So there are special voice leadings to always consider when writing in 4-part harmony. None of those things change when going to the dominant 9th or dominant 13th chords. The important thing to think about is always making sure not to have parallel intervals, to make sure there's no voice crossing or range issues where the notes are too far away from one part to another. As we know, the only part that can have a large interval of up to a 12th is between the bass and the tenor, the two lower notes in the bass clef. All of the other voices, tenor to alto and alto to soprano, should be within an octave. As well, you can see how there is a little bit of structure related to how to write the dominant 9th and dominant 13th chords, except that it's good to use them sometimes, not all the time, especially if they're asked in an example. Then you can follow the example and voice them properly. And a lot of the examples in this chapter outline that. But at the same time, if you choose to use it, try not to use the dominant 9th or dominant 13th all the time, just because they're specifically coloring chords. They are used only in special occasions. They can be used at cadences or in other places, but not all the time, because then the special quality is lost. I do hope this tutorial is helpful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much for watching, and until then, bye for now.